Welcome back, everybody, to a Little Less Fear podcast. I'm your host, Lino Martinez, and I've got a new microphone. I'm pretty excited about it. So it's like I can actually hear myself a little better, which makes sound a little more crisp. I understand I also have a deaf following, and I wish there was a way for us to connect more clearly. But the way that I do it is by having a YouTube channel with subtitles. And sometimes there's some complications that I have with the subtitles programming or however auto sync it does it on YouTube, but I'm doing my best. And I also plan on becoming fluent in sign language so that in the near future I could be recording and signing at the same time. That is one of my goals. So, but until then, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm very grateful as this podcast episode is on gratitude. Thanksgiving is this week, this Thursday, 2021, Thanksgiving 2021, and I wanted to talk about gratitude. Yeah, what is gratitude? But before I go into gratitude and talking about it, I wanted to let you know that my book will be out either by the end of this week or next week. What's with the holdup? I want to know, right? Well, I think a lot of people want to know because I'm getting a lot of questions, but the holdup is that I'm doing everything on my own. And doing everything on my own, not having an agent and not having someone helping me out, although I am getting help, by the way, behind the scenes. There are people trying to make my life easier, and they're putting in their time and effort too. But at the same time, I'm still running into a lot of other different struggles that I'm not too familiar with. So it's taking me a while to change some things that need to be changed in the book before Amazon can give me a two thumbs up and that it's ready to be uploaded successfully. So with that said, I'm grateful for the the fact that I have help from friends and that I have good advice around me and that I'm able to take my time and to do it right. I heard a quote this morning, and the quote was slowly is the fastest way to be where you want to be. And that makes so much sense, especially for me now, because check it out. If you do things fast, you're going to be missing things. You're going to miss things at the end. So slow your roll, take your time, enjoy it, take some deep breaths in between. And when you mess up, remembering those are ways to get back up and those are ways to learn. We're not going to learn anything in life if we don't mess up. So I'm really grateful for all the mess ups that I'm having and all the things that I'm learning. Meanwhile, I go through this whole editing process of getting the book done. To be honest with you, I'm kind of tired of reading through my book over and over, over and over, but this is the process that it takes. And for anybody out there that's in the process of doing things as far as editing and publishing, just remember that patience is virtue. And with patience, you get gratitude because at the end, you're making yourself a more sharper person and you're setting a good example for others. So, good luck to everybody else that's in the same spot or close to the same spot. Almost everybody is in the same place. If you really think about it, we're all trying to find ways to get to where we need to be. But remember that slowly is the fastest way to be where you want to be. Right? Yes. So let's get into gratitude. I listened to this awesome podcast, the Huberman Lab, and he's a neuro professor, neurologist at Stanford University, and he was talking about the science of gratitude. And I thought it was perfect because it's just perfect timing that he did it because I've been thinking about this a lot that I have done and I've been doing for the last 6 to 8 months is keeping a gratitude journal. And you know what? I've been very consistent about 8 months where I write down between 5 to 10 things that I'm grateful for every day, every morning, sometimes at night, and things as small as I'm grateful for this. I mean, nothing small, but I'm grateful for my exercise ball, or I'm grateful for this new microphone. I'm grateful for earth. I'm grateful for trees. I'm grateful for oxygen. I'm grateful for pillows. I'm grateful for blankets. I'm grateful for my podcast. I'm grateful for listeners. I'm grateful for viewers. I mean, the amount of gratitude that I have for everything that I'm doing and everything that I've done and people all around me is pretty immense. But the thing that I've learned after listening to this podcast, like there's actually you can have a book of gratitude with as much as you want to write down the things that come to the top of your head. But if there's not a permanent interaction that's authentic, that has to do with gratefulness, gratitude, it won't connect to your brain. It won't connect to your neurochemicals, and it won't produce serotonin. And serotonin is a happy, calming chemical that produces changes in your brain permanently, even causing you to feel motivated or unmotivated, depending on what you're doing and what you're not doing. But if you're being grateful with authentic connections, you are creating more serotonin in your brain naturally, and that creates a cycle of staying motivated and becoming motivated to things. So I started thinking, okay, so what is, I mean, after listening to this podcast, I made a bullet point and I was thinking, okay, so gratitude. What is true gratitude? And the true gratitude is when you actually receive thanks. Thanks is a gratitude. Receiving thanks and getting thanks. It needs to be an equal interaction of receive and get. Get, receive. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. And these have to permanently go through our neural circuits. For people that don't know what neural circuits are, the only way I could explain it is your brain chemicals. It needs to go through your brain chemicals and needs to stay soaked in there, marinated. And in order for it to soak and marinate, it needs to be an authentic connection. An authentic connection, what makes it an authentic connection is you actually feeling something. It becomes an emotional experience. And once it becomes an emotional experience, you have made an imprint, and that imprint stays there. And the more imprints that you make of gratitude, of being grateful, the more happiness you're creating for yourself and those around you. And the more you're going to radiate it. And then that's going to motivate you to keep going and doing more. It's pretty amazing. So, yeah, instead of making that list of things that you're grateful for, there was actually a study that the Huberman Lab was discussing, that there was a study done, and the study was taking people's experiences and connecting their brains to a machine that creates waves and along with their heart rate, and it showed that when people were told the same story in a study group, and whether or not they knew each other or whether they were miles away from each other or in the same lab, when they heard the same story, their heart rate connected. They all their heart rates started connecting the same way, and the gaps in between the heart rate even started mimicking. They all had the same pattern. And so, whenever there's a story in your mind and you have an emotional connection to the story, and your whole body reacts to it. And the good thing about that, the amazing thing about that, is that if you listen to a story, aka a narrative, also known as a narrative, and even if you make your own narratives, your body's going to react to it. And when the chemicals in your brain start reacting to these changes, to these stories, to these positive changes, it lowers inflammation in your body. There was a study that even showed that it lowers inflammation in your body. And many people know that inflammation is the cause of a lot of diseases, all kinds of diseases, from um, or let's see here. Geez, there's just so many. I don't even know where to go. Even my disease, Michael Well syndrome, arthritis, diabetes. I mean, blood, anything. Wherever there's high inflammation, you can change that inflammation simply by changing the way you think and by being grateful authentically about things. So, what's an example of an authentic gratefulness, gratitude attitude? I started thinking about this, and the first thought that I had that touched me personally. I remembered a time when I was 17 years old, and I was out with some friends at a mall, and I think we were at a hamburger place, and I remember my friends. There were four of us, and they were all chatting. They were in their own world. I don't know what we were chatting about, but we were chatting, and I noticed a woman to the left of me. She was sitting by herself, eating her hamburger by herself, and I saw that she worked at Nordstrom because she had her name tag on. But there was something about her aura, her energy, that looked really down and sad. And I guess you could say I've been an empath my whole life, and I've always felt people's emotions and been curious to help them, how I can help them. That's just been part of me since I was a little baby, naturally. And so I decided to excuse myself from my friends, and I went up to her table. I asked if I could sit down, and she said sure. And I said, you know what, I can't help but notice that you look sad, and I just want to tell you, whatever you're going through, you're going to be okay. And the woman, she must have been maybe in her late 50s. She looked at me with her eyes watery, and she said, you know what, my mom just died a few days ago, and you telling me this means so much. And I was taken aback because it was the first time that I connected authentically with a person simply by using my intuition. And I didn't do it forcefully. It was done because it was magnetic and it was natural, and I just felt there was a love that I needed to give, and I did it without planning it. And that woman was very grateful, and she was thankful, and I was grateful and thankful that she was grateful and thankful. And so she then went back to work. Her break was over, and I couldn't stop thinking about this woman. So I told my friends, hey, let's go to that Hallmark store. For those that don't know what a Hallmark store is, it used to be a store with a bunch of cards, like thank you cards and sympathy cards, just card, a gift giving card, thoughtful store. So I went to the Hallmark store and I bought her a sympathy card. And in it, I wrote to her and I told her that I was sorry for her loss and how I really hope that everything goes well for her. And I wished her love and all kinds of stuff. So I went to Nordstrom and I gave her the card and she gave me a hug. And she was so happy to have received this card. And I can authentically feel that she was grateful that I went to the store and got her a sympathy card. So I was 17 at that time, and I will always remember that. And what I learned after listening to that podcast, Huberman Lab, yesterday was that anytime you want to think about gratitude or increase your natural serotonin levels in your brain and continue to motivate yourself, think about a time, a story of when you felt true gratification. And to me, that's one story. So I wrote it down. And it's okay to go to the same story over and over. And if you can't think of a story or of a time where you felt true interaction between two people, interpersonal, meaning between two people, an authentic connection where there was a give and a take of thanks, of gratification, of gratitude gratification. I don't know why I'm putting those two words together, maybe because they sound the same, but they make sense to me. Hopefully, they make sense to you. But what I'm trying to say is, whenever you build those neural circuits or new paths, it takes an authentic connection. And if you can't think of a time that you had an authentic thank you connection with somebody, the study also implied that you can do it by observing. So take some time off. I know we're in a pandemic and stuff, but if you can go for a walk with your mask on or wherever you're at, or go to a park and just observe people, see where somebody's thankful, either for a hug or for ice cream or for a dinner that someone bought someone, or simply by just walking for them. Sometimes you could just feel the graciousness and the gratitude between two people by looking at their body language and feeling their energy. So once you do this observation and you see this story, write it down and do it at least 3 times a week, whether it's in the morning or whether it's right before you go to bed. And even if you can't, even if you don't have the chance to see or observe a gratitude scenario, you can make one up in your head. What would it feel like if I did this for someone or someone did this for me? What type of emotions would I feel? Write it down. And you will also be making it happen by writing it down. So you can't go wrong by writing down the authentic connections and the observations of a true, authentic, wholehearted being grateful for things. Now remember that gratitude equals receiving thanks and giving thanks wholeheartedly, authentically. That's what's going to help, rather than doing the everyday list of gratificate things that your gratitude. Make a list. Now you're going to be hearing that a lot from a lot of other coaches or people or mentors. Make a list of things that you're grateful for. Now, the reason why there's nothing wrong with that either is because you're planting seeds and it's still something positive. And you're still kind of like turning on that cue, turning on that alarm system in your brain that's saying, hey, don't forget to be grateful. But if you want to go deeper and actually make changes in your brain and keep yourself motivated, you have to have an emotional connection. So rather than making a list, and if you want to have permanent emotional connection and create natural serotonin levels, which are happy chemicals that create enthusiasm and motivation in your brain and calmness, then you can create that by connecting an authentic emotional feeling with the observable or perceivable gratitude of receiving and giving thanks. So, yeah, that's that's really what I had to say as far as gratitude goes. And with that said, I'm really grateful for having this podcast. There are times where I ask myself, what am I getting out of this? Am I getting anything out of this? And where do these thoughts even come from whenever I think, am I getting anything out of this? Of course, I'm getting something out of this. And anytime I get a response, even if it's just from one person, if I'm just helping one person is more than enough. More than one is better than none. Remember that, everybody. One is better than none. So, thank you so much, and happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Some people don't celebrate Thanksgiving, and if you don't have the means to celebrate it, or you don't have the emotional capabilities or abilities to appreciate it, if there's anything that you can get out of this podcast, is thank you so much is me giving you gratitude. Gratitude is a gift, and I'm thankful that I have received listeners, that I have received viewers, and that people are continuing to support. So thank you wholeheartedly, authentically, from the bottom of my heart, and the top, and the middle, and all around, for all your support. I hope to continue as long as I can. And as long as I can stay motivated, I will continue to do this. And you all motivate me so much. I love you. Stay tuned soon. My book will come out, the story about my life and things that I've gone through. Why did I write it? To inspire people, even if it's just one, to not give up. Keep going. I love you. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.